on the left who opposes Trump is somehow a member of Antifa and a terrorist.
Yes.
Like, this is coming. And I don't think we are fully now. I don't think there's any the problem. Like, I don't even know what Antifa is. I know what the definition of Antifa is. And
I know what the word means, but it's not correct. A group.
There is no group.
No.
Mark Bray, you are writing this book, Antifa, the Anti-Fascist Handbook. Explain this movement and its roots. Mark Bray is a Dartmouth professor who has studied the Antifa anti-fascist movement. Antifa is a far-left political movement that argues it's necessary to confront hate groups, sometimes with force. Professor Bray is author of the new book, Antifa, the Anti-Fascist Handbook.
Antifa. So I don't know what it is, but I know what it is.
They're going to try to create a new classification for anybody on the left who opposes Trump as somehow a member of Antifa and a terrorist. Like, this is coming. And I don't think
I don't even know
we
what
are
Antifa,
fully now.
I don't know.
I don't think there's any the problem. Like, I don't even know what Antifa is. I don't even know what Antifa is.
Sometimes with force. Professor Bray is author of the new book, Antifa, the Anti-Fascist Handbook.
You can't make this stuff up. Thank you, Newsbusters, for that clip. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Hi, guys. Oh, everybody stretch. Oh, God. We're still waiting for some people to get in here. But as long as we're here with Kermode Bear, Quest Fanning, Andy Opperman, In Jam 77, and Joni Rankin, I think everything going to be all right now. Booyakasha, Bonnie Styles in the chat as well. We got a loaded show for you today. The coffee's hot. Pineapples are sharp. Truth's a little spicier here on the Wake Up America show than the mainstream can handle. We've got a loaded show for you today. Stretch it up. This is one of those days where the headlines look like they were written by a stand-up comic who just got canceled. First up, the White House drops a bombshell yesterday. President Trump flanked by RFK Jr. and Dr. Mehmet Oz. Dr. Oz announced that Tylenol might cause libertarianism if taken during pregnancy. No! Did they find the cure for libertarianism? You can't, I'm just kidding. Cure for autism, right? You can't make this up. It's kind of like a medical press conference meets a Joe Rogan guest list. We're going to unpack this in depth today with a skeptical but serious eye. Because I've got a 1-year-old in the house, and I even called up my congressman, Dr. Bob Onder, to get his medical take on this today. Plus, guys, let's be honest, the libertarian and autism jokes really write themselves. You don't want to miss the A1 segment today. You will not hear my take anywhere else unless you watch my other old videos. A2 segment today. Tim Carney from the Washington Examiner will join us. He's been writing about how the left and their media pals keep trying to pin political violence on the right. And they've got a lot of shoddy statistics that they're using to do so. And I've got some extra ammo for him because Alex Norasta from the Cato Institute says politically motivated murders are vanishingly rare, but when they do happen, they're done by the right. They're done by the right. The right commits more political murder, according to Alex Norasta. If you don't count 9/11 and you only go back to 1975 and you paint a mentally ill psychopath who just happened to draw a swastika on their gun as a right-winger, then, there your statistics make. And you ignore all the Weather Underground leftist murders that occurred from 1970 to 1975. They think we're stupid. We're going to talk to Tim Carney this morning at 7:30 a.m. On the Wake Up America show. You don't want to miss that. It's going to be a fantastic conversation. At the top of the next hour, B1, our very own Camellia Peterson is back on the show. She's going to circle us back on the autism story because, look, it's not just about Tylenol. It's about trust. It's about science. It's about parenting. And whether we on the right are falling for our own gurus. She's going to help us to separate the signal from the noise. And then B2, just a funky little shack by the side of the road. It's a love shack. Disney wants Jimmy Kimmel back on the air. Yay for Jimmy Kimmel. But bad news, Sinclair and Nexstar, two of the biggest affiliate groups, said nope, not in our stations. And they did it right after an ABC affiliate got literally shot up by a left-wing lobbyist with a note about Charlie Kirk's assassin. Remember, it's the right-wing violence. They're going to find a way to pin this professor guy that shot up the ABC affiliate, left a note. They're going to find a way to pin him as right-wing. He's going to have like a swastika or something. But the stories, the jokes, they write themselves. We've got a fantastic show for you today. We're going to talk about what's really driving the affiliates, ratings, intimidation, or both. Spoiler, late night is dead and America has already changed the channel. And if that wasn't enough for you on this incredible 2-hour show, if that wasn't enough amazing content for you to watch live and to never turn away from, today's Breakfast Theater, our bonus content today for $100 unlocked, we will be joined by the actual Saudi Arabian cultural commissioner who will be joining us. He personally canceled the comedian Tim Dillon from their Riyadh festival. That's right. Tim Dillon was set to appear in Riyadh for had a $375,000 contract. Can you believe this? Getting paid that kind of money to go do a comedy set. $375,000 contract. It turns out that Saudi Arabia is actually braver than Netflix when it comes to cancel culture. You got to hear this one. So let's go ahead and get those bonus contents rolling in. The Rumble rants start with $1, perhaps $5. Oh, she's ice. Drop some dollars in the tip jar or go to the Grift Shop at forlibertyshop.com. That's the number 4libertyshop.com. We got so many amazing new items. Just make sure that you check out the shop every day so you can see all the new stuff that we're dropping because we've really stepped up our game over there. So grab your coffee, share the stream, click the repost button underneath there over on Rumble because we got science, comedy, politics, and goats all lined up in one show. Yes. And bears. Goats and bears and goats and bears and goats and bears and pants and boots. All right, so we're going to talk about the big headline everybody's buzzing about.
Effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Is that okay?
Is that okay?
Which is basically...
Don't take the acetaminophen regimen. Whatever you do. Trump's been taking the Tylenol, or his mom took it during pregnancy, if you're speaking like that. I'm just kidding. RFK Jr. standing there.
Known as Tylenol.
This is RFK Jr.'s big moment, okay? And just watch it. If you were watching Trump, that's funny enough. But watch RFK Jr.'s reaction. He's like, finally, I can tell the world about my research as an environmental leftist lawyer for decades. Let me tell you something about trusting the science.
Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol.
He's like, this was my moment and you blew it, Donald. What the...
During pregnancy can be associated with...
Hey, everybody gets roasted here. If you just walked in and you're like, I thought these were Republicans. Yeah, we roast everybody over here.
A very increased risk of autism. So taking Tylenol is not good. All right, I'll say it. It's not good. For this reason, they are strongly recommending that women limit Tylenol use during pregnancy unless medically necessary.
Jesus.
Effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of
acetaminophen. All right, so there we go. President Trump, RFK Jr., Dr. Oz. That's not a medical panel, folks. That is a Joe Rogan guest list. All we needed was Jordan Peterson and then a mushroom shaman to come out and to round it out. They needed Drew Van Runkle there being like, I can feel the autism leaving your bodies. We don't need late night. We have this. Exactly, Drew. Exactly. Drew, the mushroom shaman. There you go. So Tylenol, that's the historic announcement. The most boring drug in your medicine cabinet is the cause of libertarianism. Three stooges of medical science. Thank you, Brad. Baby for liberty. So Trump says the FDA is going to strongly recommend pregnant women avoid it unless absolutely necessary. So, and here's the thing. There have been some studies floating around for years that hint at a correlation. The Boston birth cohort, the Nurses' Health Study, Mount Sinai, Harvard, some data suggesting a possible link between prenatal Tylenol use and neurodevelopmental issues like ADHD and autism. So Trump is saying, we've got data. We can't ignore this. But here's the catch. There is no smoking gun at this point. Right? Every major medical group that deals with pregnant women, ACOG, OBGYNs, they're saying that this is irresponsible, what the administration is saying. And I'm not going to politicize science. So I'm not going to sit around and just say, I trust these guys because they're Democrats or they're Republicans or anything like that. I try and take a neutral tone when it comes to things like this. Even if you see me joking, right, I am going to try and sit down and decipher this the best and try and be responsible to my audience, like I did during the COVID-19 pandemic when I was covering that. I tried to hear out both sides. We had public health officials on my show here in News Radio here in Jefferson City. And I tried to give as unbiased a view. I didn't try and come at these things with a bias and say, allow my bias to determine what is true, because what is true is more important than the politics. Amy J.E. says it's not actually new about taking Tylenol while you're pregnant. She says you shouldn't take anything unless medically necessary. So acetaminophen. So the OBGYNs, the ACOG, they're saying that this is irresponsible. They're saying that acetaminophen is still the safest option for pain and fever. And the Tylenol manufacturer, Kenvue, they flat out said, we strongly believe the science is clear that acetaminophen does not cause autism. So you got this divide. The administration says historic discovery. The experts say, hold on, don't freak out. And moms are caught in the middle wondering if they can even take Tylenol for a headache. So now I'll tell you where this hits home, because Steffi and I, we've got a 1-year-old baby. This is not an abstract debate for us. Okay. When you've got a baby, suddenly every headline about vaccines, autism, and pregnancy, it's not some Fox News chyron that you see at the bottom of the screen. It's a direct question about your family. Millions of people are listening to this today and wondering. And people who have children with autism, mothers, are out there this morning asking themselves, is this my fault? Did I cause this? Did I take Tylenol during my pregnancy and cause autism in my child? This is what a lot of women are dealing with today, and fathers thinking about their children. So here's the thing. I did what any responsible father would do. I texted my congressman. He's a medical doctor, Bob Onder. And let me tell you, it's nice having a congressman who is an actual doctor. I sleep well at night knowing that we've got Dr. Bob. And here's what Dr. Bob said. He says that the Tylenol document rang somewhat true. He says, over my years in practice, pregnant women have been taking more and more medicines. They'd tell me their doctors said it was safe, but the fact is, we don't really know. He said, if I were in practice today, I'd emphasize that women take the bare minimum of medicines. So there's what Dr. Bob says, okay? And I listen to Dr. Bob because he really is, more than just like, he's not a partisan hack or necessarily an ideologue. He's a guy who I trust to try and be skeptical about all things. And he was even skeptical about some of the things that he was hearing from the press conference yesterday. Take that for what you will. Andy Opperman, thank you, sir, says, I wonder if pregnant women who have TDS will double down on Tylenol use now. Yeah, isn't that crazy? I can absolutely see it. Think of the consternation, all those Dems having libertarian babies. What? So many libertarian autism jokes this morning. Matt Unruh says, We also watched our use of Tylenol during both of Robin's pregnancies, mainly because a friend of ours was popping Tylenol like crazy during her pregnancy, and her 4-year-old son is autistic. Very sad. Thank you, Matt, by the way. That means that we're at I think we're 10, 12. We're like 5. We're at $17 raised towards the bonus content today. Thanks, guys. You guys want to see the cultural commissioner of Saudi Arabia on the Wake Up America show today? That's if we hit the unlock at $100. And if we hit $75 raised today, of course, that unlocks the mini documentary. So I did my homework and I reached out to our congressman who is a doctor and asked him that for you guys last night so that you would have a fantastic morning show and you guys would be a little bit more informed. This is real journalism happening here. Funny shirts, real news. So, and I asked him specifically because I'm like, hey, I've got a 1-year-old child here, Dr. Bob. And when I hear my president saying acetaminophen, right, I have questions. And then we talked about vaccines, and Dr. Bob says that he would give Hazel, he would give his child most of the common vaccines, MMR, DPT, but he wouldn't give the hepatitis B vaccine because unless your baby is working the night shift, drawing blood on heroin addicts, they probably don't need it. And this is what his words. He says, and he doesn't recommend COVID shots for babies either, pointing out that most pediatric hospitalizations are from asthma and viruses that trigger asthma. And any virus, any cold that a child has could trigger asthma. Just something for you to know. Now, let's zoom. So that's the kind of nuance that you aren't going to get out of a White House presser, right? Bob Honor is not anti-medicine. He's not anti-vaccine. He's cautious. He's skeptical. He's practical. And now he couldn't come on the show today. Last minute, I reached out to him, but funny shirts, real news is a great tagline, by the way. Very good point. Yeah, don't let me forget that. Funny shirts, real news, real pineapples. So let's zoom back to RFK Jr. because this is kind of where the comedy comes in, right? RFK Jr., I'll give him credit, right? He helped Donald Trump win for the good of his country. He did what 9 out of 10 presidential candidates would never do. Dropped out of the race and endorsed someone else. Most of them like to go to the very end. They fight to the very end, even when it makes no sense, even when it's detrimental, even when it would lead to an outcome that they wouldn't want. My good friend here, as you can see over on there, I'm not sure if you can see the picture frame. We had that scenario in 2016 when it became obvious at the end of the convention that John and I were too far behind to be able to beat Gary Johnson on our own. I turned to John McAfee and I said, sir, you could make me the president of the United States if you would just drop out now and endorse me and we combine our campaigns. And John said, in a very diluted way, he was very delulu at that point. He said, no, we will win. We will win. So, and then he walked away and we lost immediately. So we didn't win, but you could do a lot of good with that. And RFK Jr. did that, and I'll give him credit. And his name recognition absolutely pulled in a chunk of disaffected Democrats, and good for him. But when it comes to science, I think RFK Jr. is way out of his league. He is way out of his. He is the equivalent of Donald Trump trying to pronounce acetaminophen. That's my opinion. I don't think that some lefty environmental lawyer has any special insight on these issues. But RFK Jr., he's convinced that every rise in autism comes from environmental toxins or vaccines. He thinks that NIH looking at genetics is a waste of time. That's not nuance. That's an agenda. He's got an agenda, and I don't trust him. I don't trust him at all. Not at all. I'm glad that he supported Donald Trump. I wrote an article in praise of him in doing so, but I don't think that he deserved to be the head of the National Institutes for Health. I want to make America healthy again. But if RFK Jr. wanted to help, he'd put the kids in the fat camps where they belong. And that's how you'd make America healthy again. Get the kids off their asses. Give them a healthy lunch. And get them out the doors. So And conservatives, libertarians, people like us, we love having our guy saying the stuff that Fauci wouldn't, right? But if we're just swapping one high priest of science for another, we're falling into the same trap. Don't just trust the science when it's RFK Jr. either. Confirmation bias, it cuts both ways, okay? Now, here's the fun part, because let's be honest, there is a running joke out there, and I'm not above making it, that libertarians and autism are like peanut butter and jelly. We are like peas and carrots, but we are of some relation. There's even a Reason magazine article from 2011 that's literally titled, "Being Libertarian May Cause Autism," and the data is hilarious. They looked at Jonathan Haidt's research, and they found that libertarians scored way higher on systemizing, rules, logic, patterns, than we did on empathizing. I feel nothing. I am only math. If you've ever been in a libertarian Facebook group, this explains a lot. Oh, God. Oh, it's 7:26. Shoot. 7:24. Which is right. My computer says 7:24. My phone says 7:26. All right, I'm going to take the safe route. Guys, we haven't unlocked the bonus content yet, but we're well on the way. I got to go to a break. It's time to get Tim Carney. He's going to rebut the Cato Institute report saying that political violence has been a right-wing problem, mostly. He wrote a piece in the Washington Examiner. We'll talk to him when we get back. It's the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election.
They're going to try to create a new classification for anybody on the left who opposes Trump is somehow a member of Antifa and a terrorist.
Yes.
Like, this is coming. And I don't think we are fully now. I don't think there's any the problem. Like, I don't even know what Antifa is. I know what the definition of Antifa is, and I know
what the word means, but it's not
correct.
A group.
There is no group.
No.
Mark Bray, you are writing this book, Antifa, the Anti-Fascist Handbook. Explain this movement and its roots. Mark Bray is a Dartmouth professor who has studied the Antifa anti-fascist movement. Antifa is a far-left political movement that argues it's necessary to confront hate groups, sometimes with force. Professor Bray is author of the new book, Antifa, the Anti-Fascist Handbook.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show. We're on the For Liberty Network. I don't even know what Antifa is. So here's a professor. Oh, wait, didn't I interview a professor about Antifa? When you pronounce it like that, maybe he doesn't know what it is. Good morning, good morning. Don't forget to click the like button. If today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show, we'd love to have you be a regular guest. And if you click the follow button underneath the video you're watching right now, that's going to give you a notification when we go live, which is 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. All right, so the Cato Institute, a lot of people that I knew back in the day when I lived in Washington, D.C., kind of a place, I used to call it kind of libertarian Mecca. I would go there and hang out with all the economists and scholars, and they all seem pretty libertarian. But these days, I don't know if it's Trump derangement syndrome or what, but some of the stuff I see coming out of the Cato Institute just makes me scratch my head. Alex Narasta shares this report, says that political violence is mostly a right-wing problem. Then when I go and I watch the left-wing media, they're also saying that political violence is mostly a left-wing problem. Then I go and I read Tim Carney from the Washington Examiner. He says, don't believe the lies. It's a shoddy job that they're doing sharing this data. And you know what? I know Tim, so I reached out to him, and he's going to join us live right now. Good morning, Tim. Welcome to the show.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
I've been getting a lot of hate messages like I usually do, Tim, but lately I've been getting a lot more death threats. Is it me, Tim? Am I the problem? Do I deserve to die? Is this what this is all about? I mean, even the Cato Institute seems to believe that it's people like us that are out there firebombing in businesses, committing assassinations. Tim, what the hell's going on?
I mean, for starters, there's been years of people saying that speech and ideas are violence. And then it's rational to think, okay, well, if that person's opinion is violence, it's self-defense for me to use violence in response to it. So that pernicious idea that holding a conservative or religious view is in itself violence, that makes it so that a lot of people out there somehow think, okay, well, some violence is okay if it's against opinions I really dislike. But very sensitive to that notion that maybe something in the left-wing ideology drives people towards political violence, there's been the favorite thing of the liberal media to do to say, no, we have the science on our side. We have the data. And they've been waving around 4 studies showing that, oh, the right is far more guilty of political violence than the left. And I focus not mostly on the Cato Institute study, but the Anti-Defamation League study and another one from something called the Prosecution Project from a left-wing professor, and just showed what they excluded, what they included, how they counted what. If you look closely at it, their claims totally fall apart.
So what are some of the most egregious examples that you've seen of data being twisted?
Well, so there's a couple things. One of these studies from the Center for the CSIS is the name of it, Center for Security and Information Studies and International Studies. It went ahead and it said, we don't count riots, because riots are mob violence, not political violence. But we do count January 6th. We don't count violence that happens at protests, but we do count Charlottesville. So that's sort of, a lot of these are judgment calls. But when every single judgment call points in the same direction, that tells you something. And then I look at the specific examples. There was a man who was a BLM supporter, and he drove his car, you probably remember this, into a parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin, killing 6 people, wounding dozens. That doesn't get counted in the ADL's study at all, because, well, there's signs that this man was mentally unwell, so that gets chalked up as mental illness. There was another man who was suicidal, who had made a hit list that included Donald Trump. He went out. He was a white kid. He murdered an elderly white couple, just total strangers on the street. That gets counted as right-wing violence because among the various nonsense drawings on his weapon was a swastika. That is typical, I found, of the sort of research that goes into this.
We're speaking to Tim Carney from the Washington Examiner this morning. Why do you think that Antifa, as Chuck Todd calls it, the left-wing riots, why do you think that they get ignored? Do you think that it is an agenda that they're pressing here, Tim, that it is just an ideological backing for many of these reports?
I think the way a lot of media bias works is very subconscious. That you look at something, imagine you are a liberal journalist who lives near me. Say you live in Arlington, Virginia. So your colleagues at work are all liberals. These are people who get married, who coach their kids' soccer games and all. They're good, upstanding people who, reject the Second Amendment. They think guns need to be controlled. They're pro-choice on abortion. They are even willing to pay higher taxes because they want the government to be bigger. And then you look at your neighbors and your local government and you think, okay, these people are my people and they're good people. So in the mind of your average New York, DC liberal journalists, liberals are just good people. And yeah, a couple good conservatives, but your idea of the conservative is Donald Trump or his most rabid supporters. So I think that they just think, okay, yeah, there are some people on the left who are violent, but come on. That's such a small detail. That's not the real story. So we're going to ignore that. And that sort of omission is not just, oh, we're going to cut this out of the story. It's we're not even going to think about it because there's 330 million people in this world. We can't tell every story. So some random liberal does something bad. That's not a real story. That's my charitable view that I actually believe is the right way to understand liberal media bias. They live in a social and professional bubble.
Yeah, that's true. And there's something ghoulish too about how quickly they hopped on this narrative with their reporting because of how quickly they did it after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk wasn't even buried yet, and we were being forced to be, there was an onslaught of media that was telling us that this guy was a right winger, that, that this is he's a Trump supporter, yes. All of this kind of stuff. I mean, how are people who aren't as media savvy, perhaps as you and I mean, how do you think that the average American deals with something like that? Do you think they just tune out or what?
And I mean, I think that's a great question, Austin, because when I see liberal media doing that right away, well, first of all, just take a step back outside of ideology. When something horrible or a huge breaking news thing happens, the smart thing to do, dear all Austin's listeners, is don't believe anything you see on social media at all for like a week. The stuff on TV, even some of the stuff in the print online, the big name online publications, whether it's Fox or CNN, it will have a specific source. If it has one source who's anonymous, well, there's a 75% chance that story will change over time. So the best thing to do when something horrible like this happens is step away from the news, get together with your family or with your closest friends and pray for the country. And ignore the news because so much of it is going to be false. But when I actually wrote another piece on this about this for the Examiner just last night. It'll go up today. And I said the key. Look at how the left started to believe that the shooter was a right winger. The nugget of it. It started with the LA Times went out and interviewed an expert. They love their experts. And this was a disinformation expert. Now, when you hear the word disinformation expert, you roll your eyes. But still, to the news media, these are real people. This was a disinformation expert who back in 2020 was one of the first people to say, oh, that Hunter Biden laptop thing, clearly, that's a professional misinformation project, yada, yada. So they start with that expert. Then Jameel Hill, this commentator who used to be a sports commentator, now a left-wing political commentator, says, all the media is believing that this is a left-wing shooter, but the LA Times spoke to an actual expert. Imagine that. Again, they're expert fetish. They're expert fetish. And this expert was like, well, no, I think it's probably a right-wing shooter. You look at the engravings and this is, either Groyper stuff or yada, yada. And so, or MAGA, they started to say. It wasn't even the Groyper conspiracy theory, MAGA, or white Christian from Utah, that sort of thing. All of that happened because it's not just that they believe their side is better, it's that they will listen to anybody who calls him or herself an expert. Guys, don't. If don't trust me on this stuff, go and read my actual article and see if you think I've aptly debunked the ADL, aptly debunked the prosecution project. When somebody says I'm an expert, trust me on this, please don't.
Every once in a while, I'll have a relative visit, and they will want to turn. They're like, "Oh, can we watch TV?" And it's like, I don't have television. we don't pump that into our house. If you want to see it, you're gonna have to look at it on your phones or something.
And I know, just to tell a personal story, I know Austin from back in days when we both were closer to television, and I remember saying once in the green room, I don't know whether it was Fox or MSNBC or CNN, I said, I don't have a TV in my house. And the producers were like, you may not say that in this building.
Yeah, no, but when I have some certain relatives come over, they want to watch the news. So we turn on ABC News, and I'll watch it with them, and I'll just sit there and go, oh my God. Mm-hmm. It's a constant stream of lies and misinformation and disinformation and trusting the experts. And I'm just like, whoa. The people who watch this, they think that it's news. They think it's normal news. It's like, I read the Associated Press, and I'm like, commies. And then I'm like, I'll read USA Today and be like, oh, those are fucking commies. They're even worse. It's unbelievable because they have this veneer of objectivism, but they're not objective at all whatsoever.
And it's impossible to tell good journalism from bad journalism for the average reader, right? And there's so much of both of it. So I often look at the New York Times and I think that's good journalism. And I'll show it to some of my friends who are on the right, and they're like, you trust anything in the New York Times? I said, no, but if you read this closely, you see how sourced it is. You see their documents. They link to it. I clicked on that link. The New York Times will do a lot of good journalism, and the Washington Post will do some good journalism. Thankfully, we have tons of friends on the right who do good journalism. But for the average reader who has other things to worry about, lawns to mow, kids to feed, a job to work, it's too bad that it's hard to distinguish the good stuff from the ideologically driven slop.
It's very selective. They're very careful about the way that they push their propaganda. Speaking of ABC News, we're getting some word, Tim, that ABC News may have actually caved to some of the pressure to put Jimmy Kimmel back on because speaking of the leftist violence, a lefty, what looks to be a professor, allegedly was the one who shot up this ABC News affiliate. Now they're putting him back on. What do you make of this story from the FCC pressure angle and the ABC News maybe caving because they had their affiliate got shot up? Your reaction to that?
I don't think that Brendan Carr and the FCC should have spoken up. I don't think it was their business what Jimmy Kimmel said, how ABC handles Jimmy Kimmel, how the market handles ABC and Jimmy Kimmel. I do not think that was Brendan Carr's place to voice his opinion. I think every other American should have gotten in line and had an opinion before the FCC. I also hope that my liberal friends and Democratic congressmen will join with me in outlawing the FCC. The couple good things they do can be offloaded into somebody else. There shouldn't be an FCC. And when Brendan Carr spoke up, even if you agree with his opinion about what Kimmel said and whether he belongs on the air, that turned Jimmy Kimmel into a martyr. So whether it was a shooting or the fact that they didn't want to be seen backing down to Brendan Carr, I think it made it more likely that Kimmel was going to turn into something of a martyr when the government spoke up. We have markets, we have critical media, we have so much more alternative media than we used to. And I think administration officials you have fewer rights. When you are in the government and you are a regulator, you actually have fewer rights than everybody else in the country to speak your mind.
So here's my argument with this, Tim, and you tell me where you see the flaw in my thinking. I've been getting a lot of help from my libertarian audience from suggesting that while I may not have loved this FCC stepping in, and I don't think they should have that authority, that in just basic game theory terms, you can't just always be the nice guy. The FCC was created by FDR. It was created, they wanted to go after the right-wing radio hosts that were making life hell for him. And my suggestion was that after having been bullied for decades by this institution, attacks on our speech, that the FCC, that while it's not the greatest thing ever, it's not really the biggest harm ever to enforce the rules that the left wrote against the left. Because the truth is, Tim, the Democrats aren't going to abolish the FCC and the Republicans aren't going to abolish the FCC. So if we have the FCC, why not use it to make Jimmy Kimmel feel the pain from the policies that the left have pushed, because he is breaking the law. The law is the FCC. The rules of the FCC are the rules. And the rules are you can't spread misinformation, disinformation, and lies, which Jimmy Kimmel, I would say, objectively does, and acts as an arm of the Democratic Party. We shouldn't enforce the rules against the left, even though they're going to enforce them against us. Please, whatever you do, Tim, just don't say they're going to, what will they do when they're in power? We know exactly what they're going to do, Tim. We know exactly what they're going to do. That doesn't scare me anymore.
And they've done it before. What I would say is, in this specific case, what Jimmy Kimmel did was really bad. And if he was willing to come out and say, look, I tried to say this something else, it came out as this, I really deeply apologize. That's the sort of thing where I'd say, okay, well, I'm not sure I believe you, but I wouldn't want the government taking him off the air. In other words, this was a bad situation. It was not so egregious. It was not 100% obvious. And it would be a time for an apology, because I think he fell into the trap that I was just warning all your listeners about, which is believing early reports. And he lives in this little liberal media bubble silo. I never watched him. I'm either in bed or at a party at that night, or maybe watching, playoff sports. I don't watch late night TV, and I don't think most people should. But I think that his error was in the bounds of what ought to be handled by the market. If the FCC, I would like them to go more after pornography. I think there's a lot more harmful stuff out there. I'm sure there's stuff that, is encouraging gender transition and all that stuff, which is obviously harmful, obviously based on lies and intimidation campaigns that are much more harmful than something that I think was within the realms of the political fight. You and I both love the political fight. Charlie Kirk loved the political fight. There are things that we would say, oh yeah, you shouldn't have done that, but it's still within the battlefield. Throwing a brushback pitch in baseball or plunking the batter, it's allowed by the rules. But you just, I think that's where Jimmy Kimmel's thing came down.
Okay, and I appreciate and respect your views on that. I do think that at some point, when you're getting beaten over the head with a baseball bat, that at some point you grab the bat and you knock them a few times with it.
I think that's what the Trump administration is doing to liberal academia. Okay, you can read a piece I wrote 8 years ago, being like, Trump shouldn't go after academia because we should just let the debate happen. And then I changed my mind on that. I decided, okay, these guys aren't just overwhelmingly leftist. They have decided that we are intolerable. They have decided that conservatism is disinformation, misinformation, hate speech, and that not only should the faculty be 90% Democrat and 1% Republican, that conservatives shouldn't even be considered. You should have to write an oath to the left-wing ideology on gender and race to even be considered for it. And they have the public trust. They're not just allowed to exist over there with a little tax break from Boston or Massachusetts. They're getting hundreds of millions of dollars while being super rich. And so that's where the pugilism, punch him in the face sort of attitude, I think actually works. That's where I've come more radicalized and less laissez-faire, is go after academia like that. So
makes me feel better to hear that, Tim, because I think I would have been with you 8 years ago. I would have said that same thing. And I'm definitely feeling more pugilistic when it comes to things like these broadcasters, Jimmy Kimmel. But it is the case, though, that I think that the legacy media is dying, whereas academia is stronger than it's ever been, and therefore it is a bigger opponent. But maybe, you go after, it's like a video game. You take out the little weak guys before you go after the main boss. Tim, I'm loving your point of view. It looks like the audience is as well. They're throwing $10 bills at me in the chat because of the great conversation we're having. Is there anything that you're working on these days that you want to share, any kind of plug, or where can people find out more about your work? I'll give you the final word. Anything else you want to share?
I want to talk about babies. I wrote a book called Family Unfriendly last year about how American culture, more than even economics, is making it harder for people to have babies. And in the terms of what Charlie Kirk and Erica Kirk used to talk about, the best thing you can do is start a family, get married, have kids, dedicate your life to that. It makes it easier to not watch the news and not follow it too closely. So anyway, Family Unfriendly is my book about how our culture, our politics, but mostly ourselves and our priorities to put family first. The best role you can have in life, and you know this, Austin, is a husband and a dad. And that's what I try to drive home in this book.
I love it. Hey, Tim, thanks so much for getting up early and being so generous with your time this morning. We really appreciate it. We'll follow you over on X at TP Carney, and I did repost it. So if people are trying to find it, they can just head to my X page and they'll see you repost it up over there so they can follow you as well. Have a great day.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. Take care. That's Tim Carney. Welcome to the Wake Up America show, guys. If you haven't clicked that like button yet, please do so. And may I share a frosty brew with us. The Doth Not Tread on Me tea has become a bestseller at the For Liberty shop. I know what you're going to say. Austin, doth. Doesn't that actually just mean doesn't? So isn't that really just saying doesn't not tread on me? Yes. You think I care? You think I'm going to change it just because it's not the proper old English Shakespearean term? You think that I am going to change that incredible thing? No, because you know why? Because most people don't speak Shakespearean. Most people have no effing clue what the hell that is. They have no effing clue, but you do. But you can laugh about it. Dost thou have a frosty brew thus?
Times. I'll be your serving wench, Melinda. Might I fetch you something from the barkeep?
Dost have thou a mug of ale for me and me mate? He has
Dost
been
thou have thou a mug of ale for me and my
pitched in battle for a fortnight, and has a king's thirst for the frosty brew. Thus thou might have for thus.
I'll be right back, my lord.
My thanks to ye, fair wench.
So there you are. Dost thou have thou no frosty brew for thus? Thou canst. Unlock that bonus content. Get on the train. Get yourself a Doth Not Tread on Me shirt. Head on over to the For Liberty shop this morning and get yourself that Doth Not Tread on Me tee. Unlock the bonus content. We're at, looks like $27 raised towards the $75 and $100 bonus content goal. That's actually pretty damn good. I love it. Look at that beautiful design. It's even got the little For Liberty shop logo there and the thing. You're going to feel so cool when you wear this shirt out in public. There we go. We got Camellia Peterson joining us live in just a little bit less than 10 minutes here on the Wake Up America show. We're going to talk about the autism. She says that it's gully washing here where she is, and she's almost back home. Might have to give me an extra few minutes. Oh my God, Camellia. Hope that she doesn't get washed away. What do we have? Let's get back to the show. We're going to talk back. We get back to the autism, right? Because we were talking earlier about Donald Trump's announcement about Tylenol. And, oh, you know what? Here it is. Here's the clip.
Effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Is that okay?
No, it's not okay.
Which is basically...
No, it's not okay. Look at RFK Jr.'s face. It's not okay. Don't watch Trump in this video. Watch RFK Jr. That's the best.
Acetaminophen. Is that okay?
Is that okay? Yeah.
Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol.
It's not okay.
During pregnancy can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. So taking Tylenol is not good. All right, I'll say it. It's not good.
You know, he sounds just like my doctor. Whenever I go in to get my yearly checkup, they're like, Austin, take vitamin regimen. And I trust him. All right, guys, the fun part, guys. So there's the running joke out there about, libertarians and autism. There's a Reason magazine article, goes back to 2011. Sue Girl 67 says she must be new. She says, "What are you, a Trump hater, Austin?" No, lady. We just roast everybody. We just laugh at everything. I mean, come on, you can't laugh. I like Trump, but you can't laugh when he mispronounces a word. I like Trump. I just like to make fun of him. He's funny. So here's the thing. Back in 2011, there was an article titled "Being Libertarian Might Cause Autism." And the data is freaking hilarious. Listen to this. They look at Jonathan Haidt's research. They found libertarians scored way higher on systemizing. So we're really good at rules, logic, and patterns, but we are not very good on empathizing. So if you've ever been in a libertarian Facebook group, guys, you know what I'm talking about here. It turns out we're basically the only political tribe that reads the trolley problem. You know the trolley problem? If there's 5 fat guys and then 5 skinny guys on the tracks, the libertarians are like, yeah, push the fat guy. 5 live beats 1. Math checks out. Meanwhile, normal humans are horrified by our behavior. And get this, listen to this. In Eindhoven, the tech hub of the Netherlands, autism prevalence is way higher than in other cities. Why? Because all the programmers and engineers married each other. Nerds marry nerds, and suddenly every kid's building libertarian Minecraft servers before they can walk. That's not a bug, that's a feature. This is true. I'm not making this up. So when I joke about libertarian autism, I'm not mocking people on the spectrum. I'm mocking us. We are the spectrum. We're the systemizers. We're the guys who care less about your feelings and more about whether the non-aggression principle applies if you trespass to rescue a cat from a burning house. Yeah, this is real. Look it up. Jonathan Haidt. So here's where it all ties back. So if libertarians have a superpower, it's skepticism. We don't fall for authority just because it wears a white coat. Whether it's Fauci saying mask your toddler or RFK Jr. saying Tylenol causes autism. The answer isn't to trust them more. It's to ask questions, demand proof, and laugh at ourselves in the meantime. So yes, maybe libertarians are more autistic. Maybe that's why we notice the contradictions. Maybe that's why we're the only ones willing to say, hold on, that study doesn't prove causation. If so, then God bless our high-functioning, liberty-loving brains. Okay, so, and in the end, here's the takeaway. Be cautious, be skeptical, don't panic. If you're pregnant, talk to your doctor. If you're like me, listen to wise counsel like what Dr. Bob Onder had to say to me earlier. Use the bare minimum of medicines when you're pregnant. Trust common sense and don't get bullied by anybody who has an agenda. If somebody tries to bully you, tell them to frig off, right? I don't care if they're Big Pharma. I don't care if they're Fauci or RFK Jr. with a raspy voice and a cabinet badge. All right. So, and because you guys, I know you systemizers out there have a good plan. Here's a plan for your future freedom. If you want to protect your liberty, your money, or maybe even your sanity, you might need to look beyond America's borders. That's why I want you guys to check out the Expat Money Online Summit hosted by Mikkel Thorup of the Expat Money Show. We're talking about Latin America's freedom wave. Javier Milei in Argentina, Noboa in Ecuador, Bolivia's throwing out their socialists. I'm going to be on a special VIP panel in October discussing Trump's plans for South America. You're going to learn how to secure second residencies, passports, tax strategies, offshore banking, and more. It's free to sign up, expatmoneysummit.com. And if you want the full VIP experience where I take off my shirt, use my name and my code, Austin, AUSTIN, if you want to get a 20% discount on the VIP pass. That's expatmoneysummit.com. Use the code Austin, AUSTIN. And remember, the future of liberty isn't just here, it's global. So, time to go to the break. I imagine Camellia, she's probably almost ready, guys. So, as we go to Camellia, we saith to thee thus, get your Doth not tread on me tea at the Liberty Shop. Unlock that bonus content. We'll be right back. It's the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
NIH, FDA, CDC, and CMS.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what
effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of well, let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Is that okay? Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol during pregnancy, can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. So taking Tylenol
need a dolphin
is
welcome to the Wake Up America show. Austin Peterson here with Camellia Peterson. We are of no relation, but we're both liberty lovers, so we might be autistic. Good morning, CJ. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I am doing well.
So, I guess Tylenol while pregnant, not, that plus the vaccines. I mean, what's your take on all of this, Camellia?
Well, you posted something yesterday, and remember I said, well, we'll see if this is anything new or if this is just things we already knew that are being made new. And hey, look at what it is. So yeah, caution with using Tylenol is nothing new. And I think it's really important for us to understand, because I think some people don't understand this, is that when they talk about this new information, this new study, this is not a new study. This is a new peer review of all of these studies that have been done before. And is it all of the studies, or is it just some of the studies, right? You can pick and choose when you are peer reviewing the studies. So you're doing a study of the studies is basically what they said. And so like Mark Twain says, get your facts straight and then manipulate them as you please, or something like that.
Exactly, Camellia. Get the facts straight, then you can distort them as you please. So I texted Dr. Bob last night, and he says this. He says, the Tylenol document today rang somewhat true. Over my years in practice, pregnant women have been taking more and more medicines. They'd tell me that their doctors said it was safe, but the fact is we don't really know. If I were in practice today, I'd emphasize to women to take the bare minimum of medicines. But
yeah,
we already knew this.
Yeah, this should be, I would certainly hope, and I guess this is where big pharma comes in, right? But I would certainly hope that any physician would be giving you the minimum amount of medications that you would need to take, because if they're not, then that means they have an incentive otherwise to be doing so, which I'm not saying those incentives don't exist. I think they do exist. But the truth is I remember, when my girls were little, reading about Tylenol, and there are definite risks that come with taking Tylenol in general. So I have almost never taken Tylenol because, and it's been so long ago that I can't remember exactly, what all that I read about. But I do know that I've not purposely not taken it for many years, and I don't give it to my girls. And so, but on the other hand, sometimes people can't take ibuprofen, and they know that, pregnant women should not take aspirin or ibuprofen, which is why they prescribe them Tylenol, or tell them to take Tylenol. And there are some people who just can't, for whatever reason, they can't handle whether it's aspirin or ibuprofen or whatever. So they do take Tylenol. But I think that, yeah, there's risk that comes with any of it. I think we have to be cognizant of that. And also I would say I'm not saying that we should never stop researching these things. We should always, the science has never settled here. So we should always be trying to do more and more research. But to me, this was kind of one of those things where RFK Jr. came in and he'd made all of these claims, coming in. And this is why a lot of these people supported him, because people are desperate for answers. And so they had to do something, right? And so now there were a few things that they talked about that I thought were good. Like when you talk about not siloing all of these different agencies and having cross communication and working together, I think that's a good thing. We should be doing that. So that's fine. But if you're talking about, if you're making a statement, as the president did, about, that we shouldn't be waiting, we should really speed things up. The first thing that comes to mind is warp speed, Project Warp Speed. I'm okay, that depends on what you're speeding up, right? If you're speeding up pushing out untested, medications to families with children with autism who are looking for any glimmer of hope, that's one thing. If you're talking about speeding up studies, that's another thing. Yes, we should be doing that, but have they not already been doing that? I don't know. So, and I do think that one of the things they talked about with, was it Lucavor? I think is what it was, the medication that's been experimental so far, and they are changing the labeling to make it more available. If that is working and helping in some way, yes, let's do the things that are helpful. And I did see, by the way, someone who is a mutual acquaintance of ours talked about that one of their children has taken that experimental drug and that they have seen a positive difference with it. So, that's good.
Yeah, no, that actually is, it is good. And I certainly hope that we can make some headway on that one. But now we need to talk about vaccines. So I asked Dr. Bob about the vaccine. I got a 1-year-old baby. Vaccines. This is the time for vaccines. He said that he would give Hazel most of the common vaccines, MMR, DPT, but he wouldn't give hepatitis B. He said, unless your baby is working the night shift, drawing blood on heroin addicts, they probably don't need it. And he doesn't recommend COVID shots for babies either, pointing out that most pediatric hospitalizations are from asthma and viruses trigger asthma. So your thoughts on what he said about vaccines?
Yeah, no, I agree. One, I will say, and I don't know how Dr. Bob feels about this. One of the things that Trump did talk about in the press conference yesterday, and that I do agree with, is spreading them out. Like, I mean, I don't know, I'm open to be persuaded otherwise, but it just, when I was looking at vaccines and all of the conflicting data around it when I was, having my girls, and thinking about what I was going to do, like, it just made sense to me to not make their bodies take on all of them all at once. And so, yes, you can make the argument that their immune systems are stronger right after they're born than they are, for their entire lives or whatever. Like, there's lots of things that are said about that. But it made sense to me to spread them out. And so that's what I did with my girls. I don't remember, honestly, if they got the Hep B vaccine. But I doubt it, because I was pretty cognizant of all of that and cautious. So
why do you think the emphasis on giving hepatitis B vaccines to babies the day after they're born, if it's only the kind of thing that you need to worry about if you're a heavy drug user or if you are a whore?
I mean, yeah, I don't know unless there are financial incentives to do so, right? I mean, I saw the argument go back and forth here not too long ago about this. And, there were some people who were saying, well, mothers are required to be tested for it, while they're pregnant anyway. But then other people were saying, well, what if, what if they get it like between when they're tested and when they go in to have the baby? And there's all of these what ifs in there. And so I don't know, I understand. I've been thinking about this a lot. We are in an age where we have so many technological advances that people kind of assume we can treat and cure everything. That we have and so that sets up this expectation. And so when you talk about what we expect, vaccines to be able to do, and honestly, when it comes to the vaccines, sorry, this is getting a little bit of a rabbit trail here, but, you remember what the common thing was during COVID about natural immunity? Mm-hmm. So, but this is literally what vaccines are. It is your body developing natural immunity to something, but by basically microdosing, by being exposed in very small amounts.
Well, is it the case though, Camellia, that there might be a socio-political factor to the hepatitis B vaccine in that? I mean, they could test every woman to see if they have hepatitis B before they do this before they give this to the child, because the mother can pass it to the child. Or they could say, are you an intravenous drug user and have you been sleeping around a lot lately? So instead of asking women if they've been with a lot of partners lately, they just give it to everybody because the trade-off is so much better to just give it to everyone to help to prevent the spread of the disease. Do you think that they may just be saying the trade-offs of this for us on the political side of things, because we can't call people druggies or whores, and then on the science side of things is that it's better to just go ahead and get everybody immunized, because that way we can also ensure the slow of the spread of this dangerous disease? Do you think that might be what's going on? And there's the financials aspect of it as well, but isn't part of it that it's really hard to call somebody a spade a spade?
Yeah, I think that's valid. And this is, I would probably need to know a lot more about it before I said for sure. But I do think, this is the thing with all of these medications and treatments and vaccines there's always the trade-off, right? And so there are side effects with every single medication, and some of them are very severe, but you have to weigh, in the severity of the risks to you, is the trade-off better to take that risk and take the medication or take the vaccine? And so, I do think that is part of the equation for sure, a significant part. I also think that that probably in the medical field, it is true of what is true in the political sphere and everywhere else, is like everybody gets into their bubble. And there is the risk of not thinking outside of their own echo chamber. And you like if you hear what's in your ears all the time, whether it's from the pharmaceutical companies or from, researchers, all of these kinds of things, like just like any other field, like you have to have a lot of discernment when you are assessing the information that is coming your way. And I think that doctors are just like anybody else in any other field. Some are better at it than others.
Yeah, we're speaking about vaccines this morning and Tylenol after Donald Trump's press conference yesterday with RFK Jr. and Dr. Oz, where they linked Tylenol in pregnancy to autism. We're discussing it this morning, as well as the vaccine schedule, which is now currently trending on X right now. So if you're joining us live over on X and you'd like to be a part of the conversation and join our community, all of our commenters are over on Rumble at rumble.com/AP for Liberty. We even have a nurse in the chat who is answering people's questions, and we appreciate our friend Amy J. Ease over there. So if you'd like to be a part of that conversation, maybe you have questions for Amy, head on over to the chat, rumble.com/AP for Liberty. We just deputized her for the For Liberty Network. So, Camellia, one other thing here on the what Dr. Bob Under said to me is he says he doesn't recommend COVID shots for babies either, and that most pediatric hospitalizations are from asthma and the viruses that trigger it. We don't get that nuance from the White House press thing yesterday, but probably an important reminder that the COVID-19 shots have not proven the efficacy that was promised.
No, I think that's true. And I think this is where we see some of the, I guess some of the hypocrisy in this, and that when you talk about the rush to get the COVID vaccine to market, which started under, President Trump at the time. And I will say that he does not say that was a mistake at all. He, in fact, doubles down and says that he felt like that they did the right thing and that it's a good thing. So there's a little bit of irony in that, in kind of pushing some of these other things forward. Like you don't want to make the same mistakes. But yeah, I think that it's been proven over and over again in that time, even pretty early on. They were saying that your at-risk groups who should be more likely to take it, or if you are elderly, or if you already have a compromised immune system, those kind of things. Like it was never, I don't think it was ever really necessary for children unless they fit, one of those things. But boy, they sure tried to push it on the babies and kids, didn't they?
For sure. Your thoughts, Camellia, on the press conference in general overall. Do you trust RFK Jr. on this topic?
No, I don't trust any of them, frankly, which is a sad place to be, because I heard somebody say this morning, it was like, you are responsible for your own health. And that is part of the problem right now, is we have, like, the upsides, we have access to so much more information that we can look at the things that they are looking at. And yes, we may not have the same training as some of them do, but it's not incredibly hard to learn enough on your own to be able to parse through this data. And that's difficult, because you have to weed through the stuff that's valid and the stuff that's not, the stuff that's like hocus pocus medicine, right? So there's so much that I think is very difficult for the average American to take in all of this information. Basically, you look at all of this coming at you on all sides and you're like, I don't know, who do I believe? Who do I trust? Trust no one, right? So good idea to do your own research, but also have a good relationship with your doctor too. And, make sure that they're kind of telling you where they are on things.
Did you find it interesting that there was no discussion at all about any genetic factors in all of this?
Yeah, I don't know. They were pretty focused on autism. And so there's been a lot of and I don't know, I think there's been a lot of research and trying to determine if there are genetic factors for autism. And I don't think they've really ever found any significant links to it. But speaking of that, though, there is something that's really important here that needs to be pointed out that they talked about a lot, that you kept hearing all of these people that got up and talked yesterday talk about the meteoric rise of autism diagnosis. This is, like, to me, this is the biggest question we should be asking and looking at why of this rise, because I think it's probably explained not by environmental factors, but by the actual process of diagnosis itself. So I did a little digging, and if you look at the graph of the rise over the years of the last several decades of autism, and then also the DSM-3, 4, and 5, and how they changed the criteria for diagnosis, absolute correlation, strong correlation all the way through, because, you know, they started out in the DSM-3, the criteria for autism was, it was like fairly narrow, but then, you know, you got to the 4 and they broadened it out to include a lot more things. And the things that I think that they didn't really know how to explain before, like everything started to be going into this. And the criteria itself started to really get broadened by the time you got to the DSM-5, in that it wasn't just delayed language skills, you know, for kids under 30 months old. It was any kind of language delay or a barrier or anything at all. Like, it is not difficult to qualify for an autism diagnosis now. And there is another thing too. There's a really good account, and I don't know how to say the name of it, but I can link it in the chat, that dives into a lot of this stuff and looks at these things. There is also a link between when policies were put into place that provided financial incentives for diagnosing autism, especially in the education system, because you get a kid a diagnosis and they qualify for more services. Like, there is absolutely a link there as well. So I think this is really complicated. And I know that, you know, parents are desperate for answers for things that you cannot explain. But I hate this notion that we are going to give them false hope with things that just are not explained by medicine or research.
Is it pronounced like this, Camellia?
Acetaminophen. Well, let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen.
Close enough for government work.
All right, last question for you, Camellia. We'll lighten things up before we go. This is the fun part. All right. The running joke, of course, is that, you know, libertarians and autism are like peas and carrots. Right? There is a Reason magazine article, and it's titled "Being a Libertarian May Cause Autism." The data on this is hilarious. Listen to this. They looked at research. They found that libertarians scored way higher on systemizing rules, logic, and patterns than they did on empathizing. If you've ever been around other libertarians, that explains a lot. It turns out that we're the only political tribe, Camellia, that looks at the trolley problem and we say, yeah, push the fat guy. 5 lives beats 1. Math checks out. Normal humans horrified by us. Do you think that there is a causal link?
High in neuroticism between that if you have autism, you're going to be a libertarian? Or
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that actually libertarianism may cause autism. Listen. Hold on. In Eindhoven, in the Netherlands, this is the tech hub where all of their big brain people go. Autism prevalence is way higher than in other cities. All the programmers and engineers marry each other, and they have little libertarian babies.
Yes, I was going to say, like, we can't discount this this genetic factor of we have made so many medical advancements that now people can continue to live with these weird things wrong with them, and then they breed together, and we create kids with more weird things wrong with them. I do think that I would say that autism can cause libertarianism just by virtue of, you know, the the lack of sometimes social cues and emotional connection, and so you tend to look more at those facts and numbers. Rain Man, people, Rain Man.
Rain Man, exactly. Oh, it's excellent. I'm an excellent driver. Camellia, anything else that you want to share with our audience before we let you go today?
Trust no one. Only verify, and good luck with that.
There we go. Camellia Peterson, thanks so much. We'll see you on Thursday.
Have a great day, everyone.
Have a good one.
Say it. It's not good.
Oh, why?
For this reason,
why?
they are strongly recommending that women limit Tylenol use during.
Screwed up that clip transfer.
Somebody on your network got shit canned.
I think the official term was let go.
Okay, this is Matthew Dowd said you can't be saying these awful words and then not expect awful actions to take place. Yes, you can. I do expect that. I do not expect awful actions to take place. I think this is awful when you open this window. Like, I didn't like what he said, and what he said was vile and this and that. Irrelevant. We don't shoot people in this country, and we don't defend it, and we don't mock their death. Somebody
there
on
we
your
go.
network got.
And why is Bill Maher the only guy on the left who seems to be making any sense these days? Meanwhile, you have guys like Jamie Raskin out here saying stuff like this.
That Jimmy Kimmel will be returning to TV tomorrow night. What do you think?
Well, it's great news. Obviously, the ABC heard from millions and millions of people out there who do not want to accept government-dictated censorship of their late-night talk show host. And so the free speech battle's not over. Obviously, Donald Trump still thinks he's got the power to anoint and appoint comedians in the country in private media broadcasts. But at least ABC is on the right side now, and he's got his employer with him as well as so much of the public.
That Jimmy Kimmel will be...
Raskin, please. These guys are out of their minds. If you guys are just tuning into the Wake Up America show, welcome to the show. Don't forget to click the like button. If today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show, we'd love to have you be a regular guest. This show streams live 5 days a week, Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. It's a 5-day show, 2 hours a day, and we'd love to have you be a regular guest. If you are watching us today for the first time, click the follow button. That will give you a notification on your Rumble app whenever we go live. And if you do, we'd love to have you here. CO Day says, Austin, you're losing your followers. Is that because... Have a little empathy. Or do you lack empathy? Every follower I lose, remember, gets replaced by somebody who likes what I'm saying, and my following gets stronger because I stay who I am, what I am, and I don't change my beliefs just to suit the fickle crowd. Austin didn't tell me I had a piece of hair sticking out, Camellia said. I barely made it this morning. So many technical problems. I know. It was like if you had a piece of spinach in your teeth. Don't forget, guys, that bonus content won't unlock itself, just like this D won't S itself. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. No one is going to watch, says Mary Lou Mueller. He'll be gone soon. I hope you're right, Mary Lou. And welcome to the Wake Up America show. Real quick, before I get to the Jimmy Kimmel segment, I do want to remind you guys that the Wake Up America show produces bonus content for you guys to watch if we unlock it. And we normally unlock it every day, but I'm a little nervous about today because we've raised about $27 towards the goal. The goal each day is to hit the $75 and then the $100 mark. And it's really easy to hit if you hit the Liberty Shop. We call it the Grift Shop, but it's the Liberty Shop at forlibertyshop.com. Any of the purchases that are made during the live show go to help unlock the bonus content. All of our Charlie Kirk related merchandise will coincide with a donation to Turning Point USA. We do donate the profits to the Charlie Kirk merch that we have over on the shop to Turning Point USA. So some people had requested the Freedom shirt. We also put it on a flag. It's one of our latest products. Somebody also was like, I want Charlie Kirk but I want it to be like he's like Che Guevara. And I was like, okay, you know what? You got it. We also have a Charlie Kirk History is Not Over Patriotic Pocket Tee. And again, any of the Charlie Kirk Turning Point USA stuff will coincide with the donation that we sell, will coincide with the donation to Turning Point USA. So it goes to help unlock the bonus content during the live show this morning, and you get to make a donation to Turning Point USA if you buy any of the Charlie Kirk stuff. Some fan favorites these days, lots of these have been selling. Doth Not Tread, Gadsden Flag Renaissance shirt. People love that one. I've got that one. It looks good, beautiful mustard yellow color. We also have a Department of War unisex hoodie. We're no longer the Department of Defense, the Department of War. Get yours at 4libertyshop.com. That's the number 4libertyshop.com. And if you do that, will again help to unlock that bonus content. We've raised $27. And if we hit $75 before the end of the show, you'll get to watch our 5-minute mini documentary that we produced for today. And then if we hit $100, then we are going to actually have a special guest on the show from Saudi Arabia. He is the cultural minister from Riyadh, and he's going to explain why he canceled comedian Tim Dillon from the comedy show in Riyadh. So if you guys want to hear from Saudi Arabia live this morning, we've got to hit that $100 mark on the Wake Up America show. All right, folks, so it's time to talk about the biggest shakeup in the media this week. Jimmy Kimmel, is back, but he's also not. Disney announced that Jimmy Kimmel would return Tuesday night after his suspension, but there's a catch. Sinclair and Nexstar, they're the ones who own dozens of ABC affiliates, said not on our airwaves. And this is a seismic event because normally the little affiliates, they bow down to the Disney overlords in Burbank. They take whatever Hollywood hands down. But not this time. This is the first time that I've ever seen something like this, and I've been in the media for years. I've never seen these affiliates do this before. And this time, they're done. They say, no, you can keep Kimmel. We're going to run the 10 o'clock news twice if we have to. And it's not just because Jimmy Kimmel is unfunny. He certainly is not funny. But he's actually become a sincere liability. Now, let's remember the timeline here, okay? Jimmy Kimmel, he gets in hot water for mocking Charlie Kirk's assassin, right? And then after that, an ABC affiliate in Sacramento gets shot up by a retired lobbyist. This wasn't just a random nut with a gun. This guy had a note in his car about Jeffrey Epstein, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, Pam Bondi, and yes, Charlie Kirk. He literally wrote a reminder on his fridge, do the next scary thing. And the next scary thing was firing a gun into the lobby of ABC 10.
After posting bail and being released, the FBI has now rearrested 64-year-old Anibal Hernandez Santana. Now, he was arrested for violating federal statute 47 USC 333, which has to do with the interference to radio communications of a station that are licensed by the government. Hernandez Santana is the suspect in the shooting that led to an investigation at ABC 10 along Broadway in Sacramento. On Friday, police were called to the building in response to shots fired from outside. When they arrived, 3 bullet holes could be seen in the window of the building's lobby. And despite the building being occupied, no one was hurt. That's when the investigation began. Later the same day, KCRA 3 saw police in the River Park neighborhood, including SWAT teams. A witness at the scene reported seeing a man tackled and then taken into custody. Hernandez Santana was booked on 3 felony charges, facing assault with a deadly weapon, discharge of a firearm in a negligent manner, and discharge of firearms at an inhabited building. Hernandez Santana was held on a $200,000 bail and was released earlier on Saturday. But he was once again taken into custody and now arrested by the FBI. Back out here live in front of the federal courthouse here in Sacramento. According to the FBI, Hernandez Santana will be set for his first court appearance. That happens 2 o'clock tomorrow, so Monday at 2 p.m.
Here we go. This guy, this is not a random dude. This is not right-wing violence. This is what it is. Violent leftist terrorists committing political acts of terrorism. And California let him off. The feds had to go get him because it was a day after he had shot up this lobby that California lets him go. The feds had to step in and grab this guy as soon as possible before he could actually commit the crime that he wanted to commit, which was to commit an assassination. Put yourself in the shoes of the Sinclair and the Nexstar executives, okay? You've got your station managers calling saying, hey, our newsroom just got shot at. We've got protesters outside, and you want us to put Jimmy Kimmel back on the air making jokes about Charlie Kirk's assassin? Not a chance. That's not programming. That's painting a target on your building. So when Sinclair said that Kimmel won't be back until he apologizes and makes a donation to Turning Point USA, that wasn't corporate posturing. That's self-preservation. And let's be honest. I mean, Kimmel, it's a dead show walking anyway. The man went from the man show to the man scold. Instead, once he was pranking people on Hollywood Boulevard, now he's scolding America like he's a substitute teacher or something like that. His ratings are in the toilet. Jimmy Fallon, he's irrelevant. Colbert fading, he's on his way out. Kimmel is just lecturing the handful of insomniac Democrats still awake at midnight. Late night, as we know, it is dead. Johnny Carson sent you to bed smiling. Jimmy Kimmel sends you to bed angry. Or worse, he sends you straight to YouTube to watch cat videos instead. So for the affiliates, it's not just, is this guy worth the controversy? Is he worth anything at all? Is he worth carrying on our networks at all? And I love this. I love seeing that these affiliates are finally pushing back. For decades, conservatives had said, build your own, create alternatives, stop letting Disney and the big networks control everything. Sinclair just proved that you don't have to wait for Congress or the FCC or even Elon Musk to buy the whole company. You could just say, no, we're not airing him. That's it. That's corporate civil disobedience. That's accountability from the ground up. And it shows that the balance of power in this country is shifting for once. For once, Disney is the only player at the table. You no longer have to be forced to listen to things like this on the public airwaves.
Vandalizing Tesla vehicles, new Tesla vehicles. Please don't vandalize. Don't ever vandalize Tesla vehicles. And so,
yeah. What's the coded message there? What's the message, Jimmy? What are you trying to say? Destroy people's property? Gavin McInnes says that he pussed out once he got married, that his wife sucks. So, corporate civil disobedience. We need more of this, right? Accountability from the bottom up. And let's not lose sight of the intimidation factor here. A left-wing lobbyist literally shot up an ABC station. Affiliates saw that. They felt it. They said, we don't need to light ourselves on fire carrying water for Jimmy Kimmel. This is political violence shaping corporate media decisions, and the left likes to pretend that it doesn't exist.
Silencing people for saying lies. What is a lie? What is truth?
A lie is the opposite of the truth. And what is truth is what Pontius Pilate asked to Christ before he sentenced him to the cross. It's the line of a cynic that surrenders his reason.
He never said anything untrue. He was quoting the governor of Utah who said this person didn't come.
Jimmy Kimmel never said anything untrue.
From a different country.
Jimmy Kimmel never said anything. Jimmy Kimmel said that the shooter was a MAGA Republican, and that's a lie. There's no evidence.
One of us, and he quoted bad Republicans. Look, we can debate on what.
We don't have to debate. It's a lie. It's an obvious and egregious lie. We don't need to pretend that this is complicated at all. The shooter was a radical left-wing activist who inscribed Antifa slogans on the bullets and was dating a trans furry boyfriend. I don't think he voted for Trump. Kimmel lied. The audience turned on him. The affiliates turned on him. He deserves to lose his job. I'm frankly disappointed that he's getting his job again, but I'm confident even fewer people will watch it this time.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm glad you understood my point.
Michael Knowles. Well done. All right. So now look, listen, a lot of people are going to say, Austin, this is just corporate TV politics, right? This is about contracts and carriage fees, et cetera. No, this is about power. This is about our culture. This is about who actually controls the narrative in America. This is our culture. For decades, the networks could shove anybody that they wanted onto our screens, and your affiliates, your local affiliates, they had no choice but to air it. You were a hostage to New York and LA. But now local stations are saying, you want us to risk our safety and our reputations for Jimmy Kimmel? Forget it.
I go back to an interview with Johnny Carson, I think it was in the early 80s, when he said, I don't get into politics because why would I want to piss off 50% of my audience? And I think all comedians should think about that. They're entertainers, and they want to entertain people who had a long day. They want to be lifted up, hear something funny. They don't want to be dragged down in the toilet of politics. Michael Jordan said, I want to sell sneakers to Republicans too. I mean, what is this stuff? Entertainers entertain. Why get into this whole thing of partisan politics? I think that's the lesson of this Kimmel thing. I think he'll do very well tomorrow night. Long term, ratings will matter for him, like everybody else. But the lesson to everybody is, if you're an entertainer, a musician, entertain.
Thank you, Mr. Wonderful. Thank you. We're glad and thankful to have you guys here. It's 20 minutes left until the end of the show. I don't know if we're going to get the bonus content, guys. I'm a little nervous. Don't know if we're going to get there. So hopefully we will. Make a generous contribution by dropping a Rumble rant in the chat, or head over to the Grift Shop at 4libertyshop.com. That's the number 4libertyshop.com. When you head over to the Liberty Shop, then you guys can find out our delicious coffee. And if you go to get our delicious coffee, you guys are going to absolutely love it. Barney Styles is asking questions about how to clip portions of the show. We do have a clipping tool. And the way to work the clipping tool is you type in !clip, spacebar, and the number of seconds that you want it to clip, all the way up to 240 seconds. But you have to put a space in between !clip, space, the number of seconds. If you just type in !clip, it's going to just do 30 seconds automatically. But if you type in !clip, space, 240 seconds, then that's going to give you guys the clipping tool. So it's Brad says it's not working today. Okay, well, that sucks. I have no idea what to do about that while I'm live. So womp womp. Sorry. Womp womp. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Clip command, you type in !clip. Yep, no idea why it's not working. But usually what would happen is you would type something like !clip. And then it would give you a URL. Yeah, you're right. Not working. No clue. Not my fault. And I'm not going to do anything about it right now. Rumble did an update. Oh, they might have broken it. I want my baby back, baby back, baby back. I want my baby back, baby back, baby back. I want my baby back, baby back. Chili's baby back birds. Yeah, Rebel did do an update. Looks like their campaigns aren't even working there on the back end. That's strange. Rumble. Accept and start. Yeah, no, their campaigns aren't even working this morning. Looks like we got some problem. Oh, I see what's going on. Oh, I might have figured out the problem, guys. Hold on. Let's try a clip again real quick. Boink. Did that work? Nope. Didn't work. Blame MAGA, says Ike giving a shits. Yeah, exactly. It's MAGA's fault. Still not working. I want my baby back, baby back, baby back. I want my baby back. Talking about Jimmy Kimmel. So Disney has got to be in panic mode right now. They suspended Kimmel, then they reinstated him after a week of pressure. One of their affiliates got shot up. right? They're more worried about offending Hollywood activists than they are worried about their ratings, their affiliate partners, right? The very stations that actually broadcast their shows. You could understand, nobody wants to get murdered for canceling a host, but still, the left just makes no sense on these issues.
Our founders drafted the First Amendment specifically to protect the rights of citizens to criticize the government. When you cross that kind of societal norm, you must pay the consequence. And firing her was the right thing to do. I'm thrilled that ABC did it. Our founders drafted the First Amendment specifically to protect the rights of citizens to criticize the government. When you cross that kind of societal norm, you must pay the consequence. And firing her was the right thing to do. I'm thrilled that ABC did it. Our founders drafted the First Amendment specifically to protect the
So friggin' funny. All right. So if Disney really believed in safety, they'd side with the affiliates who had a colleague's building riddled with bullets. Instead, they sided with Kimmel, a millionaire hack who hasn't been funny since Adam Carolla carried him on the Man Show. This moment, though, this is historic because it proves what we've been saying. Late night is no longer about entertainment. It is pure propaganda. It is pure propaganda. It is no longer about comedy. The best comedy now is happening on podcasts like this. There's probably more jokes on this show this morning than there's going to be on Jimmy Kimmel's show tonight. What do you guys think Jimmy Kimmel's going to say tonight when he comes back?
But isn't that crazy that you're right, that all the comics that were supposed to put everybody to bed or whatever it is, they all went bananas left. I mean, these guys are terrible. Like Kimmel to me is just fucking, you may be friends with him. I know a lot of people
I love Jimmy.
Yeah, like he's
Colbert and I are not friends.
Yeah, like those guys to me, they're just the worst sort of partisan nonsense. You want everybody.
But the good part of that is we don't hide it. Like, he doesn't like me and I don't like him. And we don't deny it and we don't like it.
No, but he's nothing.
Colbert?
Yeah, he's nothing.
He's also very successful.
No, but he's just giving the machine what it wants all the time. You for my differences with you, I totally respect you.
Is well said.
Yeah.
Giving the machine what it wants. I wish I had thought of that phraseology.
But isn't that crazy that you're right, that all the comics that were supposed to put everybody to bed.
Rubenesque. Glad to have you here on the Wake Up America show, guys. Don't forget to click that like button and subscribe. If today's your first time joining us, click the follow button as well. So ask yourself this. If Sinclair and Nexstar can pull Kimmel, what do you think is going to happen when other affiliates start balking at the ABC News content or Disney's political coverage? What if Fox affiliates someday say no thanks to The Simpsons or Family Guy because they're sick of the leftist jokes? Right? Suddenly you have an ecosystem that is no longer dominated by the coasts. If we have regional pushback in this country, that might change the culture and the media landscape, right? Regional pushback, right? Resistance is contagious. So here's where we land, folks, right? Kimmel's not just in trouble with ratings. He's radioactive. Disney clings to him because they think that he's a cultural soldier. Affiliates reject him because they live in the real world. They have to try and sell advertising on these networks. But this is bigger than Jimmy Kimmel. This is the death of late night, the rise of local resistance, and the start of a new era where elites don't just dictate what goes on your screen. No longer will we be dictated to by people like this.
His rhetoric and beliefs were ignorant, uneducated, and sought to disenfranchise millions of Americans, far from the working tirelessly to promote unity, unquote, asserted by the majority in this resolution.
Oh, she's talking about Charlie Kirk. Oh, I could have sworn you meant Jimmy Kimmel.
It is equally important that Congress does unite to reject the government's attempt to weaponize this moment into an all-out assault on free speech across the country. all in the name of Charlie Kirk. His rhetoric and beliefs were ignorant, uneducated, and sought to disenfranchise millions of Americans.
See, I thought that was Jimmy Kimmel. But no, you were talking about, she was talking about Charlie Kirk here. Oh yeah, but what else did you say? It's funny to hear you say that, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, because didn't you also say this?
Tucker Carlson is out at Fox News. Couldn't have happened to a better guy. What I will say, though, is while I'm very glad that the person that was arguably responsible for some of the largest, driving some of the most amounts of death threats and violent threats, not just to my office, but to plenty of people across the country. I also kind of feel like I'm like waiting for the cutscene at the end of a Marvel movie after all the credits have rolled, and then you see like the villain's like hand reemerge out to grip over like the end of a building or something. But deplatforming works, and it is important, and there you go.
There you go. Deplatforming works, and it is good. Well, there you go. Mary Lou Mueller says, can you imagine having her as president? Straight to socialism. God, no, Mary Lou. But thank you so much for joining us here on the Wake Up America show. Andy Opperman, what are you doing? He went shopping. And it looks like he has equals. Oh, we are literally at $100 raised on the bonus content. Mary Lou says that's the best thing that ever happened to Tucker. Amen. You have no, I mean, I used to work for the networks too. And let me just tell you, Mary Lou, it is a nightmare. It's hell. It is time for the new media to rise, for the legacy media to die. But here's the problem. When we talk about culture and we talk about censorship, you know, it's not like it's just the United States with the big scary FCC. There are scenarios in other countries that are playing out that are far worse than what happens here in the United States. So welcome to Breakfast Theater. You know how this works. We've got a very special guest coming up on the show, but he doesn't come cheap. He said he wouldn't even get out of bed unless we raised $100 in Rumble Rants or shop purchases, because he only travels by diamond-encrusted pineapple hookah. His rider that he has for us to book him on the show today, it looks like a jihadi's wedding registry. But since you guys came through, we can have him on. This is the man who's coming up next, the man who personally canceled the comedian Tim Dillon from the Saudi Comedy Festival. Can you imagine the Saudi Comedy Festival? Have you ever heard of the Comedy Police? This guy is literally the comedy Taliban. Don't go away. We're going to a brief little break. We're going to bring him back on here straight from Riyadh, the Saudi Cultural Commissioner, on our show next. Don't go away. It's the Wake Up America show. It's the For Liberty Network. Don't go away, Mary Lou Mueller. This one's for you. And KG Grumble. Yes. Thank you. It is an honor to be here live from the land of freedom, Saudi Arabia. Yes, freedom. You are free to agree with me or free to die. Very flexible system. You Americans do not understand. In Riyadh, we have very strict rules for comedy. Rule number 1, no jokes about women. Because they are not in the audience, they are in the kitchen behind a curtain. Rule number 2. No jokes about gays. Because they are also behind a curtain in prison. And rule number 3. No jokes about goats. Goats are very sensitive. They have rights too, unlike women. Tim Dillon. He comes to our country. He makes a joke. I don't mind if someone gets hand chopped off. We say, how dare you? Only we may joke about chopping hands off. It is cultural appropriation. You know how much we pay Tim Dillon? $375,000. That is more than we spend on women's health care an entire year. And for this, he mocks us. Very ungrateful. Meanwhile, Dave Chappelle, we keep. Tom Segura, we keep. They know the rules. You can insult America all day. Just don't mention that in Saudi Arabia. If you laugh too loud, we cut out your tongue. Dave Chappelle says, that's fine. I'll just nod politely. You Americans, you call this cancel culture? We call this Tuesday. In your country, if comedian tells the wrong joke, he lose Netflix special. In our country, if comedian tells the wrong joke, he loses head. Much higher stakes, much funnier. Tim Dillon says he will now go to Iran. Iran? Good luck, Habibi. In Iran, they stone you if punchline does not land. At least in Saudi, we only cane you. That's haram. Haram. Inshallah. You Americans, you mock us with goat jokes. Yes, we love goats. You love your dogs. What is the difference? At least our goats can give milk, meat, and marriage. Your dogs just pee on carpet. But in fairness, goats are better audience than Americans. They never heckle, only bleat. Bah, bah, always sound like laughter. Very supportive crowd. Human rights, civil rights, blah, blah, blah. You think we care? You know what our national motto is? Shut up and drill. Drill. Drill for oil. Drill for dissidents. Drill for whatever we want. That is Saudi exceptionalism. You say, women cannot drive. Not true. They can drive us crazy when they ask for their rights. So, Tim Dillon, you are canceled. You are finished. Next time, maybe you perform at Biden fundraiser. They pay you less, but at least you only get heckled, not beheaded. But really, America, you should be proud. In your country, comedians are canceled with hashtags. In my country, we cancel them with air traffic control. Much more efficient. Now, excuse me, I must go. The goats are waiting backstage. They do not like to be kept waiting, especially the child bride goats. Ladies and gentlemen, the Cultural Commissioner of Saudi Arabia, all thanks to the bonus content unlocked by friends like yourself. Thank you so much to Andy Opperman and all of our friends like Joni Rankin and others who made contributions this morning in the Wake Up America show. I saw some new names in the chat. Mary Lou Mueller, KG Grumble. You guys, you need to come back tomorrow, okay? Right? Become a little pineapple. Join our community. We always like to hang out on Discord whenever we're not live on this show. So if you're tech savvy and you like Discord, make sure that you guys join us. The Discord channel link is in the description for the video. So click on that, and then we will see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday. Judge Andrew Napolitano will join us tomorrow on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. Exit through the Grift Shop. Doth not have a frosty brew for thine and thy mate. Yes, go to the Liberty Shop. That's the Grift Shop. The Liberty Shop. If you go to 4libertyshop.com, you guys will enjoy our beautiful Doth Not Tread On Me merchandise. Somebody actually bought the Doth Not Tread On Me Renaissance flag. So you can get the Doth Not Tread On Me Renaissance flag and the Doth Not Tread On Me Gadsden t-shirt. I think people will like that one way better. Get that over at the Grift Shop as you exit the show at thegriftshop.com. Thegriftshop.com. You guys are the best. Thank you for all you do to support the Wake Up America show. You're not just supporting a family of beautiful redheaded libertarian girls, you're also supporting the cause of liberty. We take the money that we earn from this, anything extra, and we plow it right back into the investment showing the Wake Up America show. We show the absolute best content in the mornings. Yeah. There we go. So do us a favor, guys, and head over to the Griff Shop. Get yourself some Doth Not Tread on Me t-shirt and go back to medieval times. And we'll see you guys tomorrow on the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty.
Four-legged folk hero, P22, a lone mountain lion that improbably took up residence in Griffith Park. A famous photo features the charismatic cat with the Hollywood sign strategically aligned in the background. When P22 died in 2022, the outpouring of attention included a celebration of his life at the Greek Theater. P22 became a rallying cry that pried loose the donations and public dollars that funded the Wallace-Annenberg Wildlife Crossing across the U.S., 101 freeway near Los Angeles. A bridge dedicated to helping animals safely cross one of the busiest freeways in the nation seems a cause worth supporting. But this particular effort comes with a breathtaking price tag and lavish over-engineering, and is entirely unnecessary to protect the mountain lion. Consider Utah's Parley's Canyon Wildlife Overpass, completed in 2018. The bridge is about 16,000 square feet, and it cost $5 million to build. That works out to roughly $312 per square foot. California's Wallace-Annenberg Wildlife Crossing, meanwhile, is 35,700 square feet, with an estimated cost of $92 million. $58 million squeezed out of California taxpayers. That's more than $10,500 per square foot, over 8 times the cost of the Utah Bridge. California does have strict earthquake building codes and higher labor costs, but this lion-saving project is still 4 times the per square foot cost of a typical California bridge. The project team went to extraordinary and expensive lengths to give the bridge a natural feel. The California Transportation Department enlisted a design team to engineer a custom soil mix to mimic the biological makeup of the native soils around the site, as the Los Angeles Times reported in April, and has cultivated over 1 million seeds in an on-site nursery since 2022. Do the animals even care? Makita Hansen, Utah's wildlife migration coordinator, says that animals do not spend a lot of time foraging or trying to hide on these crossing structures. They use it as a thoroughfare. If wildlife simply crosses and moves on, why devote so much time and money to creating a miniature ecosystem on the deck of a bridge? The bridge's proponents insist it's needed to address low genetic diversity in the Santa Monica Mountains mountain lion population. The 101 freeway limits animal movement between the Santa Ana Mountains and the Santa Monica Mountains. PBS reported in 2019 that Southern California mountain lion populations are at risk of becoming extinct in as little as 50 years. That claim traces back to a 2019 study by John F. Benson and others, which estimated a 21% probability of local extinction within 50 years. The same paper said that importing just one mountain lion from another region every 2 years could reduce that probability to 2.4%. That solution is far cheaper than building a $92 million bridge. A peer-reviewed 2014 paper in PLOS One found that translocating similarly sized big cats, cheetahs, and leopards would have median costs of $2,160 and $2,108 respectively. Even rounding up to $3,000 per move, $92 million could fund more than 30,000 years of biannual mountain lion translocations. Considering an average bridge lifespan of about 100 years, moving the animals is far more cost-effective approach to preservation than the bridge. Bridge proponents see the Santa Monica Mountains mountain lions as a population on the brink. But a stable, self-sustaining number of lions already live in the range, and the bridge will not significantly increase that number. According to the Benson study, their main study population in the Santa Monica Mountains is very small, with an estimated maximum of 15 individuals. This number isn't low because of recent die-offs or poor reproduction. It reflects the fact that the habitat simply can't support more. Mountain lions are solitary territorial predators. As Benson's paper notes, you'll generally find just 1 or 2 breeding adult male mountain lions in the Santa Monica Mountains at any given time. Territoriality and intraspecific strife, the authors explain, appear to interact with space limitation and anthropogenic barriers to increase mortality risk. In other words, even if new lions arrive via a wildlife crossing, they will have to compete for limited territory. That competition often ends in one lion killing another. The mountain lion population is not low because of a freeway. The number of lions in the Santa Monica Mountains is capped by the natural carrying capacity of the area. Building a 90 million plus bridge won't change that ecological reality. And besides, mountain lions are not endangered. The International Fund for Animal Welfare has 7 different classifications of how endangered an animal is, with least concern being at the bottom of the list. And according to the Mountain Lion Foundation, that's their official conservation status. Mountain lions are one of the most widely distributed mammals on the planet, with a range that stretches from Alaska to Argentina. Even in the Santa Monica Mountains, right where this bridge is being built, the National Park Service says the population is stable, with healthy rates of survival and reproduction. The lions were managing to cross US 101 even without the bridge. The Liberty Canyon Underpass has multiple culvert pipes that wildlife can easily access and has been used successfully for years. One tracked lion, P64, crossed the 101 and 118 freeways more than 40 times using them. Liberty Canyon underpasses work, and for far less money. Matt Howard, a natural resources manager with the Utah Transportation Department, explains that there's some data showing that mule deer prefer underpasses and that animals like pronghorn, elk, and moose prefer overpasses. But it doesn't mean that one crossing won't allow the animals to cross. It just means it takes a little longer for them to use it. Animals adapt. An underpass might take longer to become heavily used, but it still does the job without requiring $92 million in years of construction. Conservation efforts should be guided by need, efficiency, and measurable impact, not by whether a project makes for a good press release. The Wallace-Annenberg Wildlife Crossing is widely overpriced, unnecessarily complex, and redundant.